Shabbat shalom, peace and love, Shabbat shalom. We'll be reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 88. I'm going to be moving into, so the book of Psalms, chapter 88 to chapter 90. Then from there, I'm going to be moving into the book of Proverbs, chapter 25. And then from there, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7. First, the book of Psalms, chapter 88. First one. O Yahuwah, Elohim of my deliverance, by day I have cried out, in the night also before you. Verse 2. Let my prayer come before you. Incline your ear to my cry. Verse 3. For my being is filled with evils, and my life draws near to Sheol. For my being, meaning my spirit, is filled with evils, and my life draws near to the Sheol, the grave. Verse 4. I have been reckoned among those who go down to the pit. I have become like a man who has no strength. Verse 5. Released among the dead, like slain ones lying in the burial site, whom you have remembered no more, and who have been cut off from your hand. Verse 6. You have put me in the lowest pit, in dark places, in the depths. Verse 7. Your wrath has rested heavily upon me, and you have afflicted me with all your breakers. Verse 8. You have put away my friends far from me. You have made me an abomination to them. I am shut up and do not go out. Verse 9. My eyes grows dim because of affliction. Yahuwah, I have called upon you all day long. I have stretched out my hands to you. Verse 10. Would you work wonders for the dead? Would the dead rise to praise you? Verse 11. Is your loving commitment declared in the burial site? Your trustworthiness in the place of destruction? Verse 12. Are your wonders known in the dark, and your righteousness in the land of no remembrance? Verse 13. But I unto you have cried, O Yahuwah, and in the morning my prayer comes before you. Verse 14. Yahuwah, why do you reject me? Why do you hide your face from me? Verse 15. I am afflicted and dying from childhood. I have borne frightening matters from you. I am in despair. Verse 16. Your fierce wrath has gone over me. Your onslaughts have cut me off. Verse 17. They surrounded me like water all day long. They closed in upon me altogether. Verse 18. You have put loved one and companion far from me. Darkness is my close friend. So that was the book. That was chapter 88 of Psalms. What stood out to me was the morning prayer, verse 13. But I unto you, I have cried, O Yahuwah, and in the morning my prayer comes before you. So we see that prayer was made in the morning. That's that's a time period that prayer was made according to David, who I'm assuming this is, this is by David. This is a psalm by David. So not just in the morning, but morning, there, that was a thing. Morning prayer was a thing. And then I see where it says, stretched out their hands. He said, "Oh, Yahuwah, I have called upon you all day long. I have stretched out my hands to you." So we see the gesture of stretching out hands when we calling out for the Most High. Um, then it talks about in verse 10, would you work wonders for the dead? Would the dead rise to praise you? Um, what else stood out? It spoke, verse 2, it says, it spoke on, let my prayers come before you, incline your ear to my cry. Verse 3, it says, for my being is filled with evil, like my spirit is filled with evils. My spirit is filled with evils, and my life draws near to the Sheol. See, when your spirit is, you feel a guilt, or you feel a depression, or you feel of sadness, or you feel of, anxiousness, fear, that's your spirit being filled with evils. And you feel like you're getting closer to the grave, closer to the Sheol. That's how David felt. And I know many days, it's many days that we may feel like that. There's many times that we may feel like David, how David feel, how he's describing his spirit to be filled with evils and drawn to the grave. When we're anxious, having anxiety, depressed, stressed out, this is how we, this is how we could feel that day. Chapter 89, verse 1. I sang, this is the book of Psalms, by the way. Chapter 89, verse 1. I sang of the loving commitment of Yahuwah forever. With my mouth I make known your trustworthiness to all generations. Verse 2, for I said, loving commitment is built up forever. You establish your trustworthiness in the heaven. Verse 3, you said, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant Dawid. I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant Dawid. We're going to revisit that. Verse 4. I establish your seed forever and shall build up your throne to all generations. Verse 5. In the heavens praise your wonders, O Yahuwah, your trustworthiness too, in the assembly of the set apart ones. Verse 6. For who in the heavens is comparable to Yahuwah? For who in the heavens is comparable to Yahuwah? Who among the sons of the mighty is like Yahuwah? Who among the sons of the mighty is like Yahuwah? Verse 7. El is greatly feared in the company of the set apart ones, and awesome above all those around him, and awesome above all those around him. Verse 8, O Yahuwah, Elohim of hosts, who is mighty like you? O Yah, who is mighty like you? O Yah. And your trustworthiness is all around you. Verse 9, you rule the swelling of the sea. When its waves rise, you still them. Verse 10, you have broken Rahab in pieces as one who is slain. You have scattered your enemies with the arm of your strength. Verse 11, the heavens are yours. The earth also is yours. The world and all that fills it. You have founded them. Verse 12, north and south you have created them. Tabar and Hermon rejoice in your name. Verse 13, you have a mighty arm. Your hand is strong, your right hand exalted. Verse 14, righteousness and right ruling are the foundation of your throne. Loving commitment and truth go before your face. Verse 15, blessed are the people who know the sounding. They walk, O Yahweh, in the light of your face. Verse 16, in your name they rejoice all day long, and they are exalted in your righteousness. Verse 17, for you are the comeliness of your strength, and by your good pleasure our horn is exalted. Verse 18, for Yahuwah is our shield, and the set apart one of Yisrael is our sovereign. Verse 19, then you spoke in a vision. Then you spoke in a vision to your lovingly committed one, and you said, I have given help to one who is mighty. I have given help to one who is mighty. I have exalted one chosen from the people. Verse 20, I have found my servant Dawid with my set apart oil. I have found my servant Dawid with my set apart oil. I anointed him. Verse 21, with whom my hand is established, my arm also strengthens him. Verse 22, no enemy subjects him to tribute, and no son of wickedness afflicts him. Verse 25, and I shall beat down his adversaries before his face and plague those who hate him. Verse 24, but my trustworthiness and my loving commitment are with him, and in my name his horn is exalted. Verse 25, and I shall set his hand on the sea and his right hand on the rivers. Verse 26, he calls out to me, you are my father, my El, and the rock of my deliverance. Verse 27, I also appoint him firstborn, highest of the sovereigns of the earth. I also appoint him firstborn. Highest of the sovereigns, meaning the kings of the earth. Verse 28, I guard my loving commitment for him forever, and my covenant is steadfast with him. Verse 29, and I shall establish his seed forever and his throne as the days of the heavens. Verse 30, if his sons forsake my Torah and do not walk in my right rulings. Verse 31, if they profane my laws and do not guard my commands. Verse 32, then I shall visit their transgression with the rod, and their crookedness with flogging. Verse 33, but my loving commitment I do not take away from him, nor be false to my trustworthiness. I shall not profane my covenant, neither would I change what has gone out from my mouth. I shall profane my covenant, neither I shall not profane my covenant, is what he says. I'm sorry. I shall not profane my covenant, neither would I change what has gone out from my lips. Neither would I change what has gone out from my lips. Verse 35, once I have sworn by my set apartness, I do not lie to Dawid. I do not lie to Dawid. Verse 36, his seed shall be forever, and his throne as the sun before me. Verse 37, like the moon, it is established forever, and the witness in the heaven is steadfast. Verse 38, yet Yet you have rejected and spurned. You have been rough with your anointed. Verse 39, you have disowned the covenant of your servant. You have defiled his diadem in the dust. Verse 40, you have broken down all his hedges. You have brought his strongholds to ruin. Verse 41, all who pass by the way plunder him. He is a reproach to his neighbors. Verse 42, you have exalted the right hand of his adversaries. You have made all his enemies rejoice. Verse 43, moreover, you have turned back the edge of his sword and have made him stand in battle. Verse 44, you have brought an end to his splendor and have hurried his throne to the ground. Verse 45, you have shortened the days of his youth. You have covered him with shame. Verse 46, how long, O Yahuwah, would you be hidden? Would your wrath burn like fire forever? Verse 47, please remember how short my time is. Why should you have created all the sons of men for nothing, for naught? Verse 48, what man would live and not see death? Who rescues his life from the power of Sheol? Verse 49, Yahuwah, where are your former loving commitments, which you swore to David in your trustworthiness? Verse 50, Yahuwah, remember the reproach of your servants that I have borne in my bosom of all the many peoples. Verse 51, with which your enemies have reproached, O Yahuwah, with which they have reproached the footsteps of your anointed. Verse 52, blessed be Yahuwah forever. Blessed be Yahuwah forever. Amen. Amen. So what stood out to me is in this chapter, there was a lot of prophesying about the Messiah, about the only begotten Son of God. And, I made a few notes. So in verse 47, it says, please remember how short my time is. Why should you have created all sons of men for nothing? What man, it says in 48, what man would live and not see death? Who rescues his life from the power of the Sheol? So that was interesting. And that was clearly, not speaking about the Mashiach, the Messiah, but another part that stood out to me is how he says, I shall not profane my covenant. Verse 34, I shall not profane my covenant. Neither would I change what has gone out from my lips. Verse 35, once I have sworn by my set apartness, I do not lie to David. I do not lie to David. So this is the Most High speaking through the psalmist, explaining how he should not profane the covenant, neither would he change what has gone out from his lips. So the Most High doesn't change. He doesn't switch up his words. He explains what's being fulfilled and what adjustments is being made. And his son is the only one who brought adjustments. His son is the only one who brought any difference to the Torah. It says, like the moon, it is established forever. So we see that the moon is established forever. It's spoken of about it being going dark or going red or whatever, but still established. What else stood out? A lot of references to to Messiah. we see the firstborn says, I also appoint him firstborn. Verse 27, it says, I also appoint him firstborn. This is the book of Psalms, by the way, chapter 89. And in verse 27, it's talking about, it's like, I also appoint him firstborn, highest of the kings of the earth. This is obviously prophesying about the Messiah. Being born in the Ruach, in the Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit, the one and only born in the set apart spirit, from the set apart spirit, and you know, we being reborn through him, through his lessons, his teachings, his examples, his demonstrations. Um, Another verse that stood out to me, verse 19, it says, Then you spoke in a vision to your loving commitment one. Then you spoke in a vision to your lovingly committed one. And you said, I have given help to one who is mighty. I have exalted one chosen from the people. So he's basically talking about the Messiah, and talking about this vision. Obviously, is obviously a vision, which is a something to come in the future. You know. Um, what else stood out to me? Um, yeah, verse 7, starting at verse 6, it says, For who in the heavens is comparable to Yahuwah? Who among the sons of the mighty is like Yahuwah?" So we obviously talking about the messengers. Who among the messengers is you know is like is like the Most High Yah? Who among the messengers is like the Most High Yah? It says verse 7, El is greatly feared in the company of the set apart ones, and awesome above all those around him. Awesome above all those around him. So these are his messengers, and he's awesome above all of them. Another part that stood out to me says, verse 3, it says, You said, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant David. In verse 2, it says, For I said, loving commitment is built up forever. You establish your trustworthiness in the heavens. You said, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant David. And this is likely talking about the Messiah as well. And that was the book of Psalms chapter 89. Now we're getting into chapter 90, verse 1. Yahuwah, you have been our refuge in all generations. Before the mountains were born, or you had before the mountains were born, or you had brought forth the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are El. Verse 3, you turn man back to dust. You turn man back to dust and say, Return, O children of men. Verse 4, for 1,000 years in your eyes are like yesterday that has passed, or like a watch in the night. Verse 5, you have swept them away. They are as asleep, like grass that springs up in the morning. Verse 6, in the morning it flourishes and springs up. At evening it is cut down and withered. Verse 7, for we have been consumed by your loving displeasure. We have been consumed by your displeasure, and by your wrath we are alarmed. Verse 8, you have set our crookedness before you. our secret sin in the light of your face. Our secret sin in the light of your face. Verse 9, for all our days have passed away in your wrath. We spend our years like a whisper. Verse 10, the days of our lives are 70 years, or if due to strength, 80 years. Yet the best of them is but toil and exertion. The days of our lives are 70 years, or if due to strength, 80 years. Yet the best of them is but toil and exertion. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. Interesting, flying away. Verse 11, who knows the power of your displeasure and your wrath according to the fear of you. Verse 12, teach us the number our days. Teach us to number our days, and let us bring the heart to wisdom. Verse 13, return, O Yahuwah, how long? And be sorry for your servant. Verse 14, satisfy us in the morning with your loving commitment, and let us sing for joy all our days. Verse 15, give us joy according to the days you have afflicted us, the years we have seen evil. The years we have seen evil. Verse 16, reveal your work to your servant and your splendor to their children. Verse 17, and let the pleasantness of Yahuwah our Elohim be upon us, and confirm the work of our hands for us. O confirm the work of our hands. So that was the book of Psalms, chapter 90. What stood out to me was that it's basically in verse 12. It says, "Teach us to number our days, and let us bring the heart to wisdom." Teach us to number our days, and let us bring the heart to wisdom. Like, make every day count, and be wise and humble each day. Another couple verses that stood out to me was verse 10. It says, the days of our lives are 70 years, or if due to strength, 80 years. Yet the best of them is but toil and exertion. Yet the best of them is but toil and exertion. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. So this is pretty accurate, speaking on the psalmist, speaking on how our days is 70 and if best 80 years of age, and when it's cut off, we fly away. That's the spirit returning to the supreme spirit. That would be the spirit within us returning to the supreme spirit when it departs from the flesh. Verse 11 says, who knows the power of your displeasure? Who knows the power of your displeasure? Who knows the power of the Most High's displeasure? And your wrath according to the fear of you. Another verse that stood out to me in verse 4, it says, for 1,000 years in your eyes are like yesterday that has passed. For 1,000 years in your eyes, are like yesterday that has passed, or like a watch in the night. That's not needed here at all. Like my account, I don't accept any donations and gifts and nothing like that. I'm not. That's why I'm not here for that. And the scripture doesn't teach us to be anywhere for that. You know, once I get some merchandise, once I start making merch and and maybe music, then support could be accepted, but it would never be without. I would never accept anything without giving something in exchange, like a t-shirt, a hoodie, um, some ministry music, um, you know. So yeah, the scriptures doesn't teach us to accept any. The Messiah actually teaches against accepting gifts and offerings and tithes and all that, accepting any money for the work of the harvest. But it's okay. I appreciate the gesture. Um, yeah, that was the book of Psalms, chapter 88 to chapter 90. You know, we're going to be getting into the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 1. These two are proverbs of Shalomoth, that's Solomon. These two are proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, copied. Verse 2. It is the esteem of Elohim to hide a matter, and the esteem of kings to search out a matter. So it's the glory of the Most High to hide a matter. And it's the glory of kings to search out that matter. And this explains what we all are doing, searching out matters. Especially the kings who have the funds to search out matters all their life. You know, the the big money guys of the world. These are the kings of the world. They're searching matters out, and it's the Most High who has hidden these matters for them to search out. Guess to keep us busy. Verse 3, the heavens for height and the earth for depth, but the heart of sovereigns is unsearchable. The heavens for height and the earth for depth, but the heart of sovereigns is unsearchable. Verse 4, take away the dross from silver, and a vessel comes forth for the refiner. Verse 5, take away the wrong from before the king, and his throne is established in righteousness. You take away the wrong from before the king, and his throne is established in righteousness. How? Because people who say what is wrong is no longer around him. People who do what is wrong is no longer around him. People who do people wrong will no longer be around him. So he won't take advice from them, won't pick up bad habits from them. Nothing, habits won't rub off on them to do that to others, or be wrong himself, or do wrong himself, or say what is wrong himself. When you remove the wrong, righteousness is established. Verse 6, do not exalt yourself before a king, and do not stand in the place of great men. Verse 7, for it is better for him to say to you, come up here, than that you should be put lower before a noble whom your eyes have seen. So it's best to be invited to someone's presence, especially someone with status, someone who established themselves. It's best to be invited than invite yourself, Verse 8, do not go forth to strive in haste, for what would you do in the end when your neighbor has put you to shame? Verse 9, plead your case with your neighbor himself, and do not disclose the secret of another. Plead your case with your neighbor himself. and do not disclose the secret of another. So when you have a problem or issue with someone, it's best to address that person directly, not, address their, what you have against to somebody else. It says, plead your case with your neighbor himself, and do not disclose the secret of another. Verse 10, lest he who hears it put you to shame, and your evil report turn not back. So yeah, don't don't gossip, because someone you may be gossiping to may, you know, basically tell someone that you've been talking about them, and it'll all come back on you. Verse 11, a word spoken at the right time is like apples of gold in settings of silver. A word spoken at the right time is like apples of gold in the settings of silver. So, like, when you say the right thing at the right time, that's how satisfying it is. When a word is spoken at the right time and the right person hears it. Verse 12, a ring of gold and an ornament of fine gold is a wise one's reproof to an ear that hears. Verse 13, like the cold of snow in time of harvest is a trustworthy messenger to those who send him, for he refreshes the life of his master. So like the cold of snow, we see snow being described in this verse as being cold, and in the harvest, in the time of harvest, which we know around like the time of October, November, this is when we start to see some snow getting into December. Verse 14, he who boasts of his gifts falsely is like clouds and wind without rain. Verse 15, through patience a ruler is persecuted, and a soft tongue shatters a bone. Verse 16, have you found honey? Eat only as much as you need, lest you be satisfied with it and vomit. Verse 17, make your foot rare in your neighbor's house. Make your foot rare in your neighbor's house, lest he gets enough of you and hate you. Lest he gets enough of you and hate you. Verse 18, a man bearing false witness against his neighbor is like a club and a sword and a sharp arrow. A man bearing false witness against his neighbor is like a club and a sword and a sharp arrow. Verse 19, trust in a treacherous man in time of distress is like a broken tooth or a foot out of joint. Can't trust a treacherous person. This is why they're like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint in the time of distress, because they're going to do what's best for them. They're going to save their own. They're going to save their own life. Verse 20, one who takes away a garment in cold weather is like vinegar on soda, and a singer of songs on an evil heart. Verse 21, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. Verse 32, for you are heaping coals of fire on his head, and Yahuwah reward you. So yeah, if someone who doesn't like you is in need of food, helping them will, give room for the Most High to, put them in their place and check them for whatever reason that they don't like you. Is heaping coals of fire on their head. So it's like when you do good for them, the Most High will punish them eventually for whatever they whatever wrong they do to you. Uh, verse 23: The north wind brings rain, and a secret tongue and engaged face. Verse 24: It is better to dwell in a corner of a roof than in a house shared with a contentious woman. A contentious woman. A problem starting woman. Verse 25: Like cold water to a parched throat is good news from a distant land. Verse 26: A righteous man who gives way before the wrong is like a muddy spring and ruined fountain. Verse 27: It is good to eat much honey. I'm sorry. It is not good to eat much. It is not good to eat much honey. Is it esteemed to seek one's own esteem? Verse 28: A man who has no control over his spirit is like a broken down city without a wall. A man who has no control over his spirit is like a broken down city without a wall. That was the book of Proverbs, chapter 25. We're going to get into the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. A good name is better than precious oil, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Verse 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living take it to heart. Verse 6. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the face the heart becomes better. The heart becomes better. Verse 4. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of rejoicing. So the heart of the wise are around those who mourn and have empathy. But the heart of fools are in a house of rejoicing. Verse 5. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Verse 6. For as crackling of horns under a pot, so is the laughter of fools. That too is futile. Verse 7. For oppression makes a wise one mad, and a bribe destroy the heart. I'm gonna read it again. For oppression makes a wise one mad, and a bribe destroys the heart. Verse 8. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Verse 9. Do not be hasty in your spirit to be vexed, for vexation rests in the bosom of fools. Vexation rests in the bosom of fools. Verse 10. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For it is not wise of you to have asked about this. For it is not wise of you, to have asked about this. Verse 11. Wisdom is good with inheritance, and an advantage to those who see the sun. Verse 12, for wisdom protects as silver protects, but the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it. Wisdom gives life to those who have it. Verse 13, see the work of Elohim, for who is able to make straight what he has made crooked? Who is able to make straight what he has made crooked? Verse 34, be glad in the day of prosperity, but in the evil day take note that Elohim has also appointed the one as well as the other, so that man should not uncover whatever shall be after him. So that man shall not uncover whatever shall be after him. So this is why the Most High, appointed evil days as well as good days. They keep us, keep us from uncovering what shall be after us. Verse 15, I have seen it all in my days of futility. There is a righteous one perishing in his righteousness, and there is a wrong one living long in his evil. Verse 16, do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be over righteous. Do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? Verse 17, do not be wrong over much, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? Verse 18, it is good that you should take hold of this and also not withhold your hand from the other. For he who fears Elohim comes forth with all of them. Verse 19, wisdom makes the wise strong, more than 10 rulers that are in the city. Verse 20, for there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and does not sin. For there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and do not sin. Verse 21, also do not take to heart all the words they speak, lest you hear your servant cursing you. Verse 22, for you know in your heart that many times you have cursed others. So there's a lot that we have going on in our heart that we don't believe anybody else can see. And as long as we're acknowledging that and checking ourselves of that, we can keep humble. Verse 24, that which is far off and exceedingly deep. Who does find it? Who does find it? Good luck with it. Verse 25, I have turned round even my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and conclusion, to know the wrongness of folly, even of foolishness and madness. Verse 26, and I more bitter than death, the woman whose heart is snared, is trapped in nets, whose hands are shackled. He who pleases Elohim escapes from her, but the sinner is captured by her. The sinner is captured by her. I wonder why. Verse 27, see, this I have found, says Koheleth, count one by one to find a conclusion. Verse 28, which my being still seeks, but have not found. I have found one man among 1,000, but a woman among all these have not found. I have not found. Verse 29. Truly this only I have found, that Elohim made man straight, but they have sought out many devices. Elohim made man straight, but we have sought out many devices. We can't sit still. We gotta go find something to do. We gotta go find something to watch. We gotta go find someone to talk to. You know, we gotta go do something. We gotta go get something. We gotta go be something. This is the Most High had good intentions for us to be great, and for us to be innocent and obedient. It's just unfortunate that the ancient knowledge of evil is in the world, and it keeps us busy. It keeps us curious. It keeps us seeking out many devices. That completes the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, and completes the the it completes this live study. I'm gonna log out this live, but I'm gonna log back in. I'm gonna log out this live, but I'm gonna log back in, reading from the book of Leviticus, I believe, the book of Leviticus, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah. So if you're able to return, y'all bless. If not, peace, love, Shabbat Shalom till time. Shabbat Shalom, love, and peace.